Hello and welcome back to the weekly vlog, which is the video and audio recording of my weekly blog post. I'm Lola Javan, and you can read the post, see the art, and a lot more art at www.lolajavan.com. Without further ado, let's get started. Today we're talking about this piece. Let me see if I can get it all the way in the frame there. Sometimes we walk with others. It's oil on paper, 14 by 19 inches with a small border around the edges for framing. Sometimes the rescue is not heroic. Sometimes it's simply another human sitting beside you, refusing to let you fight your war alone. And I found that on Instagram from something called Revive Your Roar. This week I have another story for you. Wonder Mike and I were walking this weekend and came upon a woman sitting on a nearby street corner. Her head was in her hands and she was sobbing. I stopped and crouched down and asked if she was okay, and she said, "No, I'm not okay. I'm just so sad." So I asked if I could sit with her, and she said yeah. So Wonder Mike and I sat down on the sidewalk right there with her. I asked if she needed anything, and she said, I just need someone to listen. And I could do that, so I did for much of the afternoon. I could share her story here, her impending homelessness, her trauma, the discrimination she's been fighting, her loss of love, her loss of employment, her loss of school. Instead, my thoughts kept going to the people who pretended that she and we weren't there. It was a sunny day, pretty nice out, lots of people out and about, and yet there was a truck, big truck, that parked right next to us, tailpipe in our faces, just idling there. And it stayed there for a good 20 minutes, even though I kept trying to wave it off and tell it, get out of here, can't you see there are humans, right? And then there was a woman who decided to mow the lawn all around us right then, grass flying at us, not even eye contact. Not to mention the dozens of people walking by, riding by, skateboarding by, who didn't even acknowledge this woman sitting, sobbing on the sidewalk. And I thought, this is what it feels like to be invisible in our society. This is what this woman feels like every day. And it's hard for me to sit and listen without leaping in to offer advice and solutions and opinions and consolation, but sometimes people just want to talk and be seen and be heard. So I listened and occasionally reflected back to her own resilience and strength, her pain, her long period of suffering and loneliness, how unfair it is. I waited, solutions in my pocket, ready to rescue, because that feels good to me. But that's not what she wanted. In the end, when she wasn't crying anymore and she was calm, she told me she had pills in her bag and that she'd been ready to take drastic measures. Oh, my heart. That was quite a moment. And instead, she thanked me for listening. She asked me for a hug, which of course I gave her, telling her how delighted I was to have met her that day. She decided to go on and meet a friend and to try life again. She had just needed someone to listen. So once again, I learned that not everybody wants money. Not everyone wants a heroic rescue. People want to be seen and heard, and I can do that. I also relearned a lesson from long ago, which is that bystanders have power. We have the power to do good if we stop and acknowledge and participate and get involved. And we have the power to do bad if we just keep walking by and don't acknowledge what's right in front of our eyes. This is true in my small neighborhood, It's true in the city of Portland. It's true in any city, any country in the wide world. So I'll leave you with this quote from a big-hearted human being who happens to be a dear, wise friend. It is part of our work as artists and writers to walk with others who make us feel uncomfortable, who we want to help, who we can't help, who we can't help. And that's from Thea Fiore Bloom. And if you click on her name in my blog post, you'll have a link to her website, The Charm Studio, which I highly recommend. About the art. Often when I get a concept sketch just right, I enlarge it and create a stencil. I have done that over here, and you can see the first iteration of that. It removes the anxiety from me and the endless erasing, my concern that I might not get it right or capture that essence the second time through reproducing the sketch. So I create a stencil and make a mask, which I did for this piece. And you can see in my blog post a couple of the beginning photographs, and I'll try to throw them at the end here for what it looks like when that mask is first applied. So I painted the loose background layer around the mask, working outside in the way I do. And then once that dried, I began building the layers of the face inside out, which is what I often do next. After the face took shape, I moved on to the hair, to the hand, to the clothing, and finally her sweet little companion here on her shoulder. And by this point, the initial background layer was dry, and I decided I wanted a cooler, darker, deeper color, so I came back in with some heavy paint to do that. And finally, I grabbed my small rubber wedge, which you know I like so much, to create texture in the hair, to create highlights on the skin, and to give a little movement to the piece. I love carving into the wet paint. So thanks so much for listening and watching this week. I hope you'll go out there and acknowledge someone, listen to someone who needs to be listened to. And stay tuned through the end of the video, see a little animation, and I hope you'll subscribe, www.lolajavon.com, and I'll see you next week. Thanks again. Bye.
Comme une vie entortillée s'enveloppe et s'entrelace. Ceci est mon visage, ceci est ma bouche, ceci est mon œil, ceci est mon sourcil. Comme le vin de lilas se déversant de toi. Pour toi, ceci est ma forme, ceci est mon moule, ceci est mon âge, ceci est ma charpente, ceci est mon esprit, ceci est ma voix, ceci est mon cœur, ceci est mon choix, ceci est ma cuisse, ceci est mon sexe, ceci est ma hanche, ceci est mon sein. Ceci est mon ombre, ceci est ma haine, ceci est ma ligne, ceci est mon doute, ma mélancolie.